Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geonet Property Finance Group podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We've got some amazing content to share with you about investment properties all over Asia Pacific, throughout Australia, Bali, of course, which is our home and where we're podcasting from today, Thailand, and also Lombok. So please like and subscribe down the bottom there. And there's going to be lots of amazing information that we want to share with you. The more you learn, the more you can earn, really. So there you go. Let's get stuck into it. Okay, so in the studio with me today is my long-term friend, Craig Fitzsimmons. And Craig's going to be with me talking all things Australian property and Bali property as well. So Craig, welcome to the podcast studio.
Yeah, thanks, Chad. I traveled very far to get here today. It's about 10 steps to my desk over there. So I'm really happy to be here, and once again we can talk about the things we're very passionate about.
Yeah, that is exciting, isn't it? So Craig, let's give everyone a bit of a background, right, on I guess where Geonet Properties and Finance Group started, the history. I'd love to share a little bit more about your history too. You've been in real estate for
it's been
20 years. More.
Close to be around 20 years. Yeah. 20 years almost exactly. Yeah. So you're bound to
authorized to talk about property investment and certainly property, both here in Bali because you lived here for 10 years too.
Yes.
And lived in Australia for a long time as well.
Yeah, and over that course of time, you're bound to pick up something. So I would know a little bit, and it's been a little bit of a journey since we met. That's probably 20 years ago when I was really kind of getting into the property scene with RP Data, and then realestate.com and the digital marketing side of property, which was kind of new back then. And now, as we know today, that's where it's at. And we've used that, and of course, we'll talk a little bit about how Geonet Property and Finance Group got here, which was through the digital marketing.
It's an interesting story, isn't it?
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go through a bit of a background. So RP Data, that was your first inroads into Australian property, right?
Yep. RP Data, and it was a little bit challenging for me. Unlike now, when I'm a wizard in technology, I was pretty green back then, and I didn't really know how to even turn on a laptop. But it got me into the property game, dealing all with real estate agents, developers, that sort of thing. And it was a little bit challenging with RP Data. Back in those days, the only people that could get their information was licensed real estate agents. And
right. So RP Data, though, is, for those that don't know, because we know it, we use it, developers use it, real estate agents use it every single day.
Everybody uses it.
So RP Data is the go-to company platform for all things data driven about real estate.
Yeah.
Time on market,
demographics, recent sales, median sale prices, everything. And now they're actually called CoreLogic.
Yes.
But incorporated with RP Data, and they are worldwide. They're in the U.S., New Zealand, I think Australia, the U.K., I think as well. So they're very, very powerful as a go-to for property. So that's where I started. They weren't quite so powerful back then. They were making their inroads, and you see where they are today. And so I had about that much to do with it, them getting where they are today. And from there, I went to realestate.com. And they were entrenched in the market, but they were still kind
of early days. Realestate.com.
It was not the super early, but at that stage, early 2000s, we were head and head with Fairfax domain.
Right.
Head and head.
Okay, so this is back at the transition of people using the local paper, and then realestate.com.au, right? Because when you first started with realestate.com.au, we were still really heavily, the Australian public was still very heavily using local paper.
Oh, absolutely. We had to pull teeth and, mug some of the real estate agents behind their office to try to get them to try this digital thing. You know,
Right.
say, no, nobody looks at that. You know, we need the papers.
Yeah.
And it was like pulling teeth for a number of years, and then of course, eventually caught on to where we're at today, and where they're at today.
Yeah, strange. It's going back that far. Well, even my business goes back to when we're using yellow pages.
Yeah, sure.
To be now in what we've grown as a digital agency.
Yeah.
But my original business 20 years ago was to buy the front cover of yellow pages.
That was a similar time.
Hopefully it worked, right?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, there was no measurable success on any advertising really in those days, and you just threw it out there, and well, hopefully it works.
Yeah. So realestate.com.au, and you're with them for a number of years. You're one of their biggest sales reps at that time.
Yep.
Had amazing relationships with all different types of real estate agents, from the big brands, Ray White, Harcourts, Elders, to then just the local real estate agents as well.
And I mean, my last probably 2 or 3 years there, because I was BDM, all new customers, and and especially in Victoria by that stage, we had 97% of the market of established real estate agents. So all of my new customers were guys that were just little guys mostly. Some were franchises opening a new office, but a lot of mine were just little, agents trying to break into the market. And of course, with the digital side of it, realestate.com and others, they could compete in a sense because they were on the same platform. They didn't have to buy $100,000 advertisement in a local paper to be seen. So it did really kind of level out the playing field a little bit for some of those smaller agents.
It's interesting, right? I think back to my teenage years in my 20s and sitting with my dad on a Sunday afternoon, and that was him. Like, local paper was it. 20 years later, we've just taught him to use iPads. So it was the local paper, and that was his passion. That was his thing on Sunday, was to what was happening in the local area, to keep abreast. They've been property investors for a long time, and very successful property investors. But that was his thing. That was Sunday, looking at the local paper.
That's what people did, and look at the hours spent in that. It wasn't, and again, it was a lot of it was leisure too, time to spend a Sunday. But now, we live in that digital world. Things are fast. People want something at their fingertips now.
Yeah.
I want to see what's now. Okay, I want to compare prices now.
Right.
And that's where we are today.
Yeah, interesting. I guess, and this is where Geonet Properties has been born from the idea of creating everything into a digital environment.
Sure, but let's go back further than that. Before there was Geonet Properties, where we incorporated that from Geonet Marketing. Okay, that's where all of this started.
Right.
And we'll let you tell the story on that. You've been there longer than me with it. So.
Well, it's an interesting story. And as I said, we're recording from our Bali offices today. It was a beautiful morning, but it was thunderstorming out there before. So with the thunder comes cracking over, we might edit that back out. So yeah, we're recording from Bali studios today. And we set up our business in Bali 9 years ago. No, nearly 10. And I started a small agency, digital marketing agency here. And that grew over time. It's been 10 years in its growth, but where it took a significant growth was about 6 years ago, where we were working with Home Corp Constructions. And they're one of the biggest, top 4 builder in Australia now, and the number 1 builder in Queensland. And we developed a marketing technique, which was longitude and latitude marketing. So we could pinpoint somebody's location via their mobile phone and understand, because of that location, we could send them ads based on the interest.
Okay, give them the example of what Home Corp did, and I think people understand how powerful this is.
Yeah. So in Australia, right, you go to estates, there's hundreds of different allotments, and there's multiple different builders within each one of those estates. So we were able to put the longitude and latitude coordinates and ring fence the rooftop of the competitor's location, and then be able to send people ads from Home Corp, about Home Corp, a lower deposit, a better furniture package, to people that had entered their competitors' location.
So you knew that, okay, these people are going into, say, Simmons Homes or Metricon,
right,
and they're going in there to look for a property. Okay, they want to buy a house and land, and they don't go in there unless they're fairly interested. So, we know that, okay, within the next maybe 5-6 weeks, they're going to buy something. They're at that stage.
That's right.
All right, so what you've actually done is that when they're going in there, they're getting ads from Home Corp. Okay, and they're saying, "Wow, we just happen to be in here at the moment."
Yeah, how did they know that?
Yeah. How did these guys know that? It's the big brother, and that's really what it is.
Yep.
And so they look at it and say, "Oh, okay, here's a better offer. We can get $5,000 more dollars from the government here, or whatever,
Lower deposit, or better interest rate, or because it was so targeted to that person because of their exact location, which we've applied in it for Geonet, the marketing agency, to multiple different customers and different industry types all over the world. But for real estate, it was amazing. Yeah. And then we took it from that case study, and mind you, in that year, I think Toyota bought Home Corp out for a fairly hefty sum, and we probably had a small part to play in that too.
Absolutely.
But then we took it into real estate, like one of the best ways to find people that are actively looking in real estate is when they go to an open home. So Absolutely. We had the list of all the open homes for the clients that we work with, and we would put their ads over their competitor open homes.
Same thing. Just to give them some idea, give them the statistics of Home Corp, what the sales and the number of homes they sold directly from Geonet's marketing.
In that 18-month period, it was just shy of 500 homes. So, yeah, no small feat, and that was all from Facebook and Instagram marketing.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing. So that's what started Geonet marketing into the real estate world. And then again, as we then applied it to open homes. And then after a couple of years of doing that really successfully and very well, we learnt the data behind real estate marketing, where to find the right people, where to find property investors, and then what type of marketing material they wanted to see.
And to generate the best leads, out of that data that you've collected from all those things. You know where to find these people. Everybody wants leads. We want good leads. We want good leads. They don't just pop up.
No.
You have to find them, and that's where that came from. And of course, then when we saw the success of that, you go on to the next steps.
So the next step was, again, a natural progression. We were partnering with some of the most successful real estate owners, real estate agents, and developers in Australia by that point. We were also working with some of the top mortgage brokers in the country, some of the top financial planners in the country. So what we were able to do was then form another company called Australian Property and Finance Group, and that was our first ownership from our first big step from Geonet.
It was a big step,
it was a big step from Geonet into taking an ownership in property investment.
And the first go of it didn't really go that well.
Well, this is the thing. So we joined with a great guy called Matt Sully, and he's going to be featuring in our podcast as more episodes come along, and I can't wait for the audience to meet him too.
Yes.
But no, it took, like anything, it took a while to work. The first 3 months was really nothing, even though we had some amazing property investments for our audience. It still takes time to get things to work.
You have to be known. People have to trust in you. Say, who are these guys? There's 100 different ads out there for properties. Why these guys? And that's where the marketing comes in. And
Yeah, that's right. So after 3 months, we had really, I guess, dialed in the marketing, the messaging, and really appealed to property investors all over Australia. So that business had become very successful. We did over 100 million in property sales in the following 18 months, and still continues today to be an extremely successful property investment business, where we've actually partnered with developers in projects in Queensland, and a recent one in Melbourne as well.
Well, we probably won't go into Park Lane at this stage, but
it's a nice backdrop though.
Yes, it's a nice backdrop, and the story will come.
And we better let Matt Sully talk.
Yes,
about that.
We'll leave that for him. But that's where it's gone. It just again, we're just kind of teasing you. But if you see this here, that's where Geonet Property and Finance Group is now involved, not only involved, but
And
heavily.
the work in the branding, in many different things from the website. But what we learned in that time, and it was also a time of COVID, is we had to demonstrate our product to property investors, because the property investor market did not slow. It hasn't slowed now. Interest rates still keep going up. The market's a little bit nervous. Sure, it slowed a little bit, but it must continue. We need more homes. We're in a rental crisis. We'll talk about that more in just a moment. But what we had to do was we had to completely redesign the way that the industry displayed that information to property investors.
Yep.
And how we did that was by building our own platform. Yeah, and we probably one of the most advanced property platforms that we have seen in Asia Pacific already.
I think anywhere really that
we're a little bit biased.
Yeah.
So we built a platform that was able to deliver content and information to a client at speed, because this is what people need to see today. This is what they want today. Like I said, we went from local paper to realestate.com.au, incredibly successful, because people got the information and delivery at their fingertips. Yeah. And we've done that with off-the-plan projects. So there's a lot of supporting documentation in a project. If you're talking about something like Park Lane, or if you're talking about home constructions, you've got third-party rental valuations, you've got floor plans, you've got the interior design, the exterior design. There's an enormous amount of information. And then, of course, there's multiple real estate agencies selling those projects. So we were able to devise a platform that would have a single URL that you could share, so husband and wife can easily access that information if they weren't part of the.
So that means you're not going through 20 different screens on your computer with different spreadsheets and different photos.
Someone's in Google Drive, somebody's in Dropbox, just a single URL, and all the information was there. And we did that, and we deployed that. We're at version 3 now of that, as we launched it just over a year ago. But when we launched that platform, sales doubled. And the reason it doubled was because people could now understand what it was about. Very easily and very simply. So they could understand the investment, they could understand the property, they could understand the location, and then they could make that purchase
online. Yeah. The Amazon of property.
Right.
And still I haven't seen anybody else doing that.
We've seen a few. It's interesting. I had a conversation with a very big UK developer, friend of mine. And they build 4 or 5 projects in all throughout London and London suburbs. They've never seen anything like that in London, Europe. So that's a very exciting part of the business. And then I guess the next growth of that was bringing Geonet into its own property development company under its own property development and real estate sales into its own name.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
So we extended the platform. We then brought in Bali property, Lombok property, Australian property, and Thailand at the moment, and it continues to grow.
Well, the last word on that will finance group. We will go into at some stage.
Wow, yeah, that's an exciting one. That just got launched a couple of weeks ago for being able to finance international properties. Property investments through for Australian citizens, particularly into Bali.
Yeah, and this never been done here, and there's various reasons, and now and for us people that don't speak real great financial terms, basically if you have equity in your home or properties in Australia, you can leverage that and get a loan to buy properties here in Bali, which will make returns of 11, 12% and above if you manage it yourself. And the cost of that loan, the interest rate on an interest-only loan, so you're not taking the big thing again, is like 4.69%.
Right.
So you take that for 4.69%, and people say, "What? We don't have to use our cash? We can get a loan for this?" And then we're making 11, 12%, 13% on that money.
Right.
Right. It's kind of a no-brainer.
So we'll talk about that in more
Sure.
detail in just a minute, I guess. But yes, it's amazing, and it's only just come out in the last couple of weeks, and everyone is very, very busy. Yeah. Excuse me. And I guess
are we done with this podcast? I got to get back there.
I've got calls to make.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So Geonet Properties, the platform was amazing, and then what we wanted to do for our investors, because we knew this as a marketing company, is the data that was required, and as we then became the data, the marketing, the branding, and then the licensed real estate salespeople, we knew the full spread of what investors wanted. We then went back to our developers and our builders, and were able to reshape construction projects. We were able to reshape the way finance was done. Yeah.
Well, we've seen it here. We haven't really gone out to market too many developers, or they're coming up on our door. And they're seeing our marketing, they're seeing our ads all over Facebook. So who are these guys? And then they'll ask some of their friends who are developers, whatever. Yeah. That's Geonet. Go talk to them. And we had a guy just walked in literally last week. Our mate Alex, was it? No, Sasha. Anyway, but there's so many of them, and he just came in and said, guys, I'm a developer. I'm just starting here. I've got this block of land in some really nice land, and I want to do this, but can you guys help me? And
that's exciting, being able to work so closely with developers to help them understand what investors want, and being able to shape a product for the general public, a real estate project, a return on investment project, and everything end to end on our platform,
and get it sold a heck of a lot quicker than they've ever done before.
Right.
And that's a pretty exciting thing with Geonet Property and Finance Group. Here we are.
Here we are. Okay, so we're gonna talk in more episodes. We're gonna get down into the real nitty gritty of. With our accountants. Yeah, we've got our registered accountants in Australia. We have accountants here in Indonesia. We're going to speak to our financial brokers, our financial advisors. We're going to be doing lots of episodes so where our investors can see behind the curtains with the construction companies, with the developers, with the interior designers, with the architects, and really fully understand what it is to be involved in an off-the-plan project, because they're highly lucrative.
They're highly lucrative, and again, as far as Australians and others go, they know the route there, but Bali, kind of scares people a little bit. They say, well, we don't know. And again, to have the answers for that, the returns here are probably 3 times what they're getting on investment properties in Bali.
Where else in
Australia?
Where else in the world can you buy an investment property, 2-bedroom villa? Somewhere around about the $500,000 mark, even less.
Yeah.
But that's for the high end, and be renting that out for $250 USD per night, and be rented 70-80% of the time.
Well, I'll tell you a little thing that came today when we went and saw one of our developers, Elot, a French developer here. They build some really nice
high quality,
and of course it's a little bit higher priced because of that quality. And I took Felix the cat there today. He's got some Singaporean guys. And anyway, Malika was telling us that I was saying, oh, this rents out for $580 a night or so. I was telling Felix, and she said, well, right now it's more like $700 a night.
Right.
They've had to raise their prices because there's so much demand for it. They're 95% occupied in that place, and of course, Felix's ears were perking up a little bit. And she said, we've got Christmas bookings that it's all booked through Christmas, New Year's at $1,100 a night.
Wow.
So,
it's amazing.
So
let's talk about why does this happen? Why did everything change? We built our platform, which was designed for Zoom, right?
Yep.
Because during COVID, everything changed. The way we did business changed. The way we travelled and we commuted changed.
We couldn't.
We
couldn't travel.
Yeah, we couldn't. But there was we didn't go into your office anymore, and Zoom, which we even hadn't really been using as a marketing agency.
No.
Just erupted into the world and became the way to do business. So we had to change the way that we displayed that information, hence our platform.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we'll talk a little bit about how that impacted into property investment, particularly in Queensland. We've been doing a lot of projects here, but then we'll talk about what's happening in Bali. But as the projects that we were developing in Queensland, the domestic migration to Queensland was unprecedented.
Yeah.
Because you could now work from home.
Yes, and people said, hey, Victoria was locked down for how long? Like almost a year straight.
Right.
And people said, let me out of here. I can do my work elsewhere. Let me go to Queensland. I don't want to be here stuck. And of course, that impacted a lot on the developments there. And we'll go into this a little bit later about actual vacancy levels, which are not.
You can't get a rental property in Queensland. We can't build them fast enough.
No.
Sure, we are going to go through some challenges next year as the interest rates go up. There's many different schools of thoughts on it, but it is happening. It's in front of us. They're going to go up. They're going to come back down.
Yeah.
But the fact is, these areas, these tightly congested areas of central Melbourne and central Sydney, are not, and people are moving to where they want to be. It's a lifestyle choice now.
Yeah, lifestyle.
Sunshine Coast. Sunshine Coast is amazing. I was just reading a document before about Cairns, and some of the locals are in caravan parks because the domestic migration there. Yeah. And we saw that in Gold Coast in a big way. So we changed our tech to suit Zoom. Yeah. And we worked with where those developments were strong, where the domestic migration was happening. And that's what's happened to Bali. It's no different.
No. Yeah, and really, it's the exact same thing, only we're really going across many more miles because we're dealing with people from around the world. Mm-hmm. So we're and again, of course, because of our marketing, we're sending ads there because everybody comes here. So we're doing Zooms, Singapore, Australia, the U.S., Malaysia,
UK, all throughout Europe.
And
somebody bought online the other day, and I seen this come past my desk, and they were from Hungary.
That's right. Yeah,
and they bought one of our investment properties for Bali online because it was very easy. And I'm like, wow, Hungary, we're international.
Exactly. So that's caused not so much. Again, we've grown with it a little more. I wouldn't say challenging, but where before it was all Australians in Australia, time zones, everything, and now we've gone to the next level with here in Bali, expanding that. It's it's the same thing, but on a world scale, which is what it is.
And what's incredibly exciting is the tech that we built a few years ago. Now the Geonet platform, Geonet Property platform, it makes it so easy for people from all over the world to make a decision. Yeah. All the files, all the information, all the pricing, all the currency structure, everything that they need is at their fingertips. Yeah. So that's exciting for us as a business. It's exciting for our investors.
It's exciting for investors. It's exciting for us because now, as a salesperson in it, you don't have to spend 2 hours getting all of the different, images, different return on investment documents. For one client, you just send it to them. They've got it. It's all there, and it makes life a lot easier for everyone.
So Bali's changing for us, isn't it? But I think it's changing for the better. I moved here 10 years ago. Yeah,
me almost 11 now. So
yeah. So did I follow you when you left Australia? Yeah. I followed.
Well, you. I don't know if it was.
I've been following you ever since.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I was here about a year before you, and look. I don't know about you. You don't look like you're having any real itch to move somewhere else.
Craigie, I love Australia. Is home for me, of course. Sure. But for sure, Bali is where I want to be.
That's it.
And we made it work here as a business, as a marketing agency, well before Zoom and COVID and work from home.
Yeah.
It does make it a lot easier now.
Well, we can also, I'll toot your horn a little bit in that in all of those years of doing this marketing, the experience that you have is unprecedented, really. Into this arena, going from this to Zooms to the platforms to the cross branding, every single thing of it. It's done pretty well.
Well, yes, okay, thank you. But it is a mixture of an incredible team that we have as well. It's almost 30 staff now from Bali, Indonesia, France, US, Australia,
Ireland,
Germany, Ireland.
Yeah.
Right. it's a mix of some really amazing minds that are able to put all of this together, and then working with some of our developers as well. I've had developers from France and Italy, and all over the world.
It's a global community here, and which is a really good thing in Bali. But let's talk a little bit about why Bali. Okay, why are people looking at Bali, or what, people have heard about Bali, but we've got some statistics, but just give your views.
Yeah, okay. So Bali was, it's been a travel destination for Australians for a long, long time.
Yeah, 40 years.
Before COVID, Australians were coming here. 1.2 million Australians every year would come here. That was. And it's not that at the moment. The next one was Chinese. They were about 1.1 million coming here. But now we're seeing, of course, they're still not traveling. But we're seeing US and UK coming here considerably.
Germany is also in the top 5.
Yeah.
But
Australia is back and is the number one country to come over to Bali. But they're not just coming over here for holidays anymore. And the government's changing this too, because they're putting in working very hard to put in new visa requirements and becoming attractive as a country, as Indonesia, as Bali, for digital nomads and people that want to work from home. And people that are retiring.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. And, you're seeing that. And again, some of the marketing you're seeing, it was interesting before we got on this podcast, what you were saying about your perceptions that, I see this all the time. Bali is definitely this, and then the statistics that we got along with it.
That's right. I was talking to Elisa, who is one of our partners in the business. She's one of the project managers. She's our content writer, and I said to her, my feeling is that a lot of Bali's growth is off the back of Instagram. And the reason I said this is because back 5 years ago, I was invited to train at Google offices in New York City, and I was in Times Square. And I thought it was pretty amazing that in the middle of Times Square, it was a big sign about wonderful Indonesia. And that's what Bali had to do 5 years ago. Big signs, lots of global advertising to bring people over. We don't need those signs anymore. And to tell you why. In 2022 so far, Bali was tagged in 69.2 million Instagram posts.
69.2
million Instagram posts. It was seen 12.2 billion views on TikTok.
How can you do any better advertising?
We don't need advertising in Times Square anymore.
No.
So what's happened is this Instagram influencer world is changing Bali forever. In that the people are coming. So work from home has changed. Yeah, Zoom has changed. You with us, buddy?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Have some water. Instagram has changed it. Social media has changed it. Zoom has changed it. The digital world has changed the audience that's coming to Bali. So one of the biggest tourist destinations in the world was rated Travel Advisor, TripAdvisor, number one tourist destination for many, many years. Yeah. Indonesia was just voted number one most beautiful country in the world, which it is. Yeah. We can talk when we talk about Lombok in some other episodes. We'll talk about the natural beauty of Lombok. So all of these things together is just accelerating the growth and the rental demands and the holiday demands. And it won't go back. It won't change back. No. We won't go back from Zoom and work from home to clumped up in an office in the middle of Burke Street.
No, well, we talked about that. Over the course of COVID, during that time, is that look, the digital world was always coming. All right, it was always coming, but slowly, and this would have happened maybe 5 years from now in the normal progression of things, and COVID just shot it straight up, and it's never going back, and it can't go back. It's like going back to square wheels on your car.
It's like going back to the Yellow Pages.
Yeah, going back to the Yellow Pages. Exactly. Happen, and so again, we've talked many times too how COVID was very unfortunate for so many people and businesses and individuals, but it actually really boosted our business because being a digital business and in marketing, that's where the world was. And so
and then people can the work that they do, that when it can be from a computer desk, why would you do that in the centre of Melbourne? I mean, not that there's anything wrong with it. I love Melbourne. Melbourne's an incredible city. One of my favourite cities in the world. But for those that wanted to be in a tropical holiday destination, Bali is like no other, right? So that's accelerating the growth, and we like Queensland, like Sunshine Coast, like these parts in Australia where we've got developments. The same thing is happening here. Rental prices are going through the roof. Excuse me. We don't have enough stock. Well, we need more homes, to be built here, and the tourism trade is like nothing we've ever seen before. And it's only just starting to come back, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's not even hardly halfway there, but we're seeing the signs of it here.
Today's the 16th of November, whilst we're filming this, and we've got the G20. So we've had Air Force One arrive. We've had all the world's leaders hosted here in Bali, and they've put on one of the most incredible shows. So again, you put all of that together. You put Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, the G20, work from home, and it's just all compounding into an amazing opportunity for investors.
Well, sure, and again. Of course, Australians being so close, they're fairly well, acquainted with Bali and know a bit about Indonesia as well, of course, along with it. But again, you can go to the Americans who, don't want to bag them too much, being one.
You were.
Well, I'm bi. I'm half and half. I've got, I'm American and Australian, but. They are also, people are getting exposed to what Indonesia really is. Not only just Bali, but it is the fourth largest population in the world, where many people don't realize that. And, the amount of development that's going on here, the natural resources, all that thing, I think right now it's the 8th biggest economy in the world.
I'm actually at one of the property show in Jakarta on Saturday. I'll do some filming and share some of that information that comes back from that. But yeah, absolutely.
And they predict in the next 10 years it'll be one of the top 4 economies in the world. So again, when you're talking about a place to develop, as an investment, it's making a lot of sense. Not just today, but if you look into it a little bit more, you're going to see that this is a place for growth.
But it's a perfect storm. Right, to be an investor in Bali. And it's not, again, like all of these things, it's not going to go backwards. Sure, we might have a volcano. Might go off. We've had that plenty of times before.
Yeah.
We might have another global pandemic. Well, if that happens...
Yeah, everybody's in the same boat anyway.
Everybody's in the same boat.
So you may as well be here like we were. It was a lot better.
Oh, wow. I mean, COVID for us was...
Mask.
It was incredible. It was one of the most amazing times. Sorry to all those people that had to deal with COVID in Australia, but here was incredible.
Yeah, wow. It won't be like that again unless there's another one. But, it wasn't so great for the local people, but, they're resilient, and most of them that stayed have families here. They work through it like they always have. Many other disasters.
There's incredible schools here in Bali, international schools.
There's everything.
Yeah, everything you could want from a family to live here, from a single or a couple without children. It has everything that you would ever want as a lifestyle or as an investment.
And of course, what you're always happy to talk about, and of course, you being my social manager, I always tag along with you, is the amount of really nice restaurants, bars, that level that never was here before. There'd be 3 or 4 places years ago. You'd go to Coup d'etat. There'd be, 2 or 3 places. You can name them. And
Coup d'etat, Potato Heads.
Yeah, that's it. It pretty much ended, and there might
it's become the epicenter of beach clubs from around the world. Finns, who we work with very closely, who will be featuring one of our upcoming episodes as they launch their new project, real estate project too. W beach clubs, beautiful.
In all of the top restaurants, and the Japanese restaurants,
and some of the chefs, for the incredible award-winning chefs from all over the world,
because they want to live here.
Yeah,
the same thing, and again, for that level of of hotel management, chefs, they can make more money overseas. You know, they get paid well here, but they can command more money overseas just with the market. They come here.
Because there's a lifestyle choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's
sure.
why we've lived here for such a long period of time, right? And no plans to change. Okay, so let's just come back to what is one of the most exciting things that we have put out since the platform opened, and that is Bali Finance for Australian citizens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Firstly, how did we get it? For 5 years of very, very hard work, selling more than $1 billion worth of real estate with our partners in Australia, with our mortgage brokers, with our construction partners, with our real estate agents,
Using the lenders, like we you have to get that credibility and
delivering a track record for property investors, delivering a track record for construction companies. Yes, Australia's doing it tough at the moment. Yes, a lot of builders have gone down, and that's unfortunate. Yeah, but our builders are strong. Yeah, projects are being delivered on time. In fact, some are being delivered faster.
Yep.
So by having all of that experience and then by building the platform, we were able to shape and dictate a little bit, not dictate because they're still the banks, but have some sort of influence over then what we could do with our investors. So we can now leverage Australian property up to $1 million and for them to buy internationally, Lombok, Thailand, and Bali. And this is exciting because you've got an interest-only rate, less than 5% on the current market rates, 4.69%. We can lend up to 80% of the existing asset value in Australia through our selected partner network. They can then buy cash flow positive property here, retire faster, pay off their mortgages faster in Australia, or buy more properties and diversify their portfolio. Like we said, there's you can the average price in Australian dollars for a 2-bedroom villa here, 400 to 500, depending on the quality, depending on the area. But anything from $250 to $300 USD per night. And booked out, conservatively, 70 to 80% of the time, if not more. That's
and that is the return. That is the net return. After again, people say, "Well, how do they do that?" And that is with those figures are coming from the developers and other people where they're using their own management companies to run those.
Right. So this is the exciting thing. If you want to start to create this as a second income, you can manage the property yourself. So we can get returns of 15% net if they get using a property manager. If they want to do their own Airbnb bookings or Booking.com bookings, they can manage it themselves. Their returns can get up to more than 25%. And they have been that way for a long time. This is not something new that Bali is experiencing. It's just accelerating.
And there was never, an option for finance before. So you had to have that sort of cash.
Exclusive to Geonet Properties and Finance Group.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah, absolutely. And, if you wanted to do that before, and of course the great Australian dream for many people is to, retire or live part-time in Bali. We all know that. That's, 1 million people come here every year from Australia, and probably almost that million would love to have some place in Bali. But it's just never feasible for them for different reasons. Basically then it was, hey, they had to have a cash outlay because of course there's no finance here by anybody.
And that was it.
You either had 500 grand or 300 or you don't get anything. And it's hard to just get that cash, and it's harder, and you don't want to just spend it to Bali. But now there's
so for a property investor, so our audience are property investors, retirees, because we can also use self-managed super funds here to buy property. And we're going to go through this into more episodes in real detail. We're going to bring in our partners, we're going to bring in our accountants, we're going to bring in our brokers, and really get into the depths of this for our audience. But for property investors to have a mixed portfolio of Australian property, and you might have mixed that between Melbourne, Queensland, Queensland of course, Sydney. I mean, that sort of plateaued a little bit. It's always
But there's still people that want to be there, so
Yep, absolutely. We have some great projects in Sydney, and some more coming up next year. But being able to then diversify their portfolio and have their property in Bali have a really high cash return and bring that back into Australia and pay off their mortgage faster and retire earlier.
It sounds almost too good to be true.
Right, and it does, and maybe it does, and that's what a few people are saying. Is it too good to be true? Let's come and talk to us. Come and speak to our brokers. We've got offices in all throughout Australia. Come and speak to our people, our registered, licensed professionals.
Well, the only reason it sounds too good to be true is because it's so simple.
And it hasn't been done before.
Well, it hasn't been done before here either. But when you take the principles of it, okay, many people know, all right, they can leverage more of a loan with the equity in their property. Okay, that makes sense. So, I mean, it's not an unheard of process, but we've just taken it to Bali for property that's never been done before because...
This is the interesting thing as well, right? So our audience is property investors. We do a little bit of owner-occupiers, but it's generally property investors. Yep. Australians know that they cannot retire on their superannuation alone. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. So the Australian public they're a lot more intelligent these days when it comes to investing. Yep. We've never had more equity in our homes in Australia than ever in history because the property prices in Australia have been going up so long. Yep. And everyone's saying they're going to drop, but they haven't yet, have they?
No.
And I don't think that they will. Because we've got the biggest international migration coming that we've ever seen since World War II.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't you live in Australia too? I mean, I love Bali, but Australia is a very desirable location. We have some of the best universities in the world.
Yeah, best infrastructure, best medical care, education, So Australian property investors are very savvy. They're very intelligent, and more property investors in Australia than ever before because they understand that they cannot retire on just a single source of income alone. So I guess this is pretty exciting news for them. Absolutely, and it should be if it isn't. So listen to these podcasts.
Listen to these podcasts, and you're going to get a lot more information on how we can help you through that.
Sure.
We are going to talk more about in the upcoming episodes. We're going to go into more detail about property ownership here.
Yeah.
And the real particulars. You can freehold property and you can own it here. You can also leasehold it. All you need to do is just to start to change your mindset a little bit about what is a leasehold, what is a freehold, what's Australian property.
And that's where a lot of the problem is.
A leasehold property in Bali is about generating revenue from global tourists that are coming here to the number one travel destination in the world, and has been that way for some time.
And it's very simple.
It's a very simple model. And when you start to understand it, that these are the investors that are making incredible returns here. Yeah. So speak to us about that. We're going to go into that in more episodes. We won't do that today. We're going to bring some of our accountants in, and we're going to break it down. What is a leasehold? What is a freehold? We've got lots of mortgage simulations. We're going to show you how the numbers work. Yeah, so that's going to be exciting episodes coming up. We're going to be talking about all the different areas within Bali as well. We're here in our offices at the moment in Canggu, in Brawa. And Brawa is seeing an unprecedented amount of growth. But Seminyak is still a great investment.
Well, and Uluwatu, Nusa Dua, we're getting, and we're finding through
Nusa Dua, where we've got the G20 at the moment. Yeah,
probably not today. It's good to be there, but other than that, the rest of the year, we're getting a lot of people that are looking at those areas too. So it's not just one or two areas. There is a spread out areas for different reasons. People want to live in different areas.
Yeah.
For you. Well, this is the heartland, Brawa. You're not going anywhere, and of course, it's pretty good for me too. But there are people at different stages that want it a bit quieter. They want it closer to the beach, or up on the hill, and so
Some people want to be close to the schools, and some people don't need to, and take an area like Uluwatu or the Stua.
Yep.
Sure. So Craig, thanks for your time today. It was great to chat to everyone and give them a bit of an understanding about where we've come from and where we're going, and a just get so excited about taking people on this journey.
Well, and it's going to be really fun for the next podcast as well to listen to our guests.
And get the next podcast and get the people behind the scenes, get the builders and the designers and the architects, and getting people to really understand what's behind property investment in Bali. We've got lots of other episodes coming up with some of our amazing partners, Crystal Evans, our number one mortgage broker in Australia, our accountants. We've got some podcasts coming up with Matt Sully, Shane Murphy, one of the gurus of the Queensland property market. So amazing information. It's all about providing people with the right information so they can make their own decision.
Sure.
Our property investors are very savvy, and they've got the amazing platform to use that with, right?
We try to make it easy for them.
So thank you to everybody for listening into this podcast. Please like and subscribe and share, and we will join you in the next episode.
All right. See you then.